everyone, and welcome to this episode of Writers Infusion. I'm your host, Susan. I am here with Dave, Julie, Jen, and Ed, who's currently off camera operating the computer, but because we are at the Cambridge Library in Massachusetts, we have a special guest critiquer with us today, Amaryah Orenstein. Hi. Of Goat Literary in Boston. We're really happy to have you with us today.
I'm delighted to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And for this session, our author is not here, so we are going to read the story. Julie's going to read it. We chose her to read it, and then we'll start the critique at time. So this is flash fiction. The summary is a brief flicker into the life of Marty Jones, a J. Alfred Prufrock of sorts, did I say that wrong? With an advantageous adaptation of his character in descriptive salutations. All yours.
Panic on Madison Avenue by Francis DeStefano III. A literal reek of panic. Jones stumbled through the street. Get a hold of yourself, Marty, he said to himself. The wind whipped up on concrete sidewalk along Madison Avenue. He clutched at his overcoat, pulled it tighter. Always a crowd. He found wherever he was going, the mass of people moved against him. This will work out, he muttered. He found out his wife was cheating on him earlier that morning. He knew all along. He also knew his children were not his children, but that took longer for him to recognize and come to terms with. When he saw Robert, her friend, look in her eyes at the Christmas party they held every year, one year, and the look she gave him back, he knew. He then put together why John could build blocks so well and Janine was a whiz with mathematics. Marty taught history at the local public high school. So when Janine learned long division and John grew fond of automotives and carpentry, Robert being a contractor and Marty's wife a physical therapist, putting two and two together when he looked into their eyes and saw they were not his, Marty looked for ways to forget what he knew. He took classes at a local community college to learn science and parts and mathematics and electrical engineering. He was average to a degree, though he carried a 4.0 GPA. It helped him relate to his kids and help them with their homework. That morning, his wife came over after having slept at her mother's and taken the kids out of the blue the night before while he was grading papers and doing homework after helping the children with whatever they were working on. He nodded after she told him, which he did not expect. So flustered, taken aback, she packed her things as well as the young ones into a suitcase and left. She ushered them out the doorway. I'm trying not to chuckle there too, it's about cute wording. Is Daddy coming? Janine said. John just looked back. Marty looked to his work, and the house was quiet when the door closed. Charlotte Jones, née Chenier, came to the door with Robert McNamara with divorce papers and a fraternity suit. Marty signed the papers and agreed to the test. Robert grinned down at him with a sneer, close to a leer, though in good spirits. Charlotte looked awkward, as if she wanted the 5 minutes to go by fast. After seeing no fuss was to be made, she bowed slightly under Robert's hand. You never had time for me, Marty. If you made time for me, maybe we could work it out, but I've never felt connected to you. After signing the papers, Martin Jones, walked along Madison Avenue before stopping at his favorite cafe he frequented since his early 20s to sit for a cup. Sandra Shea was working. He liked her, as she did him. She never asked questions, just small talk. He liked that. The usual, Marty, she asked. Of course, you sniveling cretin. What did you think I was going to ask for, a rope? Easy, Martin, she said. You've never talked to me that way before. Then maybe you should do your job and get me a cup of coffee, he said. She seemed crestfallen and abject, left to run his order to the baristas in the back of the shop from the patio area. Martin thought nothing. He was beyond thinking for this moment. So much was always there, but here he could be nowhere. Here's your cup, Marty, she said after returning with a mug and saucer. Thanks, you revolting waste. It's burnt. I've been coming here for 20 years and getting the same drink every time, and it's burnt. How hard is your job, Sandy? It's Sunday. Is that the reason? Maybe if you tried a little harder at such menial jobs as making a cup of coffee and whatever else brought you here, you'd be something better with your life. Marty, please, you haven't even tried it yet. Tears welled beneath her sad, gleaming eyes. She worked this job and another while putting herself through school and providing for her family since she was 16 after her mother passed. As a result, her father drank himself to death when she was 22. Please be reasonable, she said. I'll take the coffee, but I want you to know what a worthless life you are, Sandy. You are scum, do you hear me? You will never be anything in this life, and that will always forever be, he said. She sobbed, and a tear streak from a drop traced her cheek into his cup as she leaned over it and proffered friendship as he said this. She went over to Benjamin, her boss, and asked if she could take a cigarette break. Seeing a crying woman, as would any man, he said yes and followed. Marty sipped his coffee and smiled. It was perfect. He waited a few moments and sipped. He pressed the button in his overcoat pocket, and the bomb underneath his vest exploded with an echoing ball of fire. His outfit. Well, it's certainly an explosive story, was my first comment.
I do.
And Amaryah and I were just giggling. We don't mean to giggle, but it says she packed her things as well as the young ones into a suitcase. It's just the wording. She packed the
misplaced modifiers.
The young ones' things, but not the young ones. And it's comical. I know.
Yes, I didn't mean to laugh.
No,
It jumps out at me every time, and
Yes.
it's just the perfect
Yes.
example of why you need to read your work out loud before you submit it. It's just a question of rewording.
Yes.
I don't think she put the kids in the suitcase, but maybe she did.
No, and I hope you noticed I was taking some breaths there because there were some long sentences and there were just too many words. We need pauses with commas or periods and separation.
Well, how tough it must be to find out your kids aren't really your kids.
Oh, I know. I tell my boys when they're not mine. I carry them. You guys, one of you isn't mine, but I'm not telling you which.
Come on, yes, they have a
They're
sense
both
of
my
humor.
children. It's just a joke.
So
I love you.
I have a great sense of humor with my kids too, it's fun.
So I have to say, I'm more of a novel reader. I don't read flash fiction. So
I don't think this
Coming-
should be flash fiction. I think it should
I mean,
be-
coming from the perspective of a novel, you've got a third of a book in the first third of this little story.
Absolutely.
And this guy, you know, his wife's cheating on him, and how he finds out, and then he finds out about the kids. There is so much there to have unfold
Yes.
that
It doesn't lend itself to flash fiction.
No,
Short
and
story or
and
novel.
with the ending being so surprising like that, and I know that we're not supposed to see it coming, that's the element of surprise, but it's so much of a surprise that to me I couldn't even buy it.
It's incongruent.
I
It's
agree.
incongruent with the rest of the story.
I was reading two different stories. I felt like it just created so many questions for me that I almost felt like you can't end there. Immediately I wrote connection to his divorce ? Or otherwise motivated ? And my thought process was he just got the divorce papers that morning. So the divorce cannot be the motivating factor because I don't think you have time to go out and get a bomb
Right.
and figure this all out in it seems like 15 minutes since his wife left with the kids in the suitcase. So I need some sort of hint as to the motivation for this to be not just a believable ending, but a satisfying ending for me to this story. And why upset your friend before you killed her? You started out
When
with
you're out of the building.
Yeah, I
they
don't
want to
think
kill
she's-
her.
Yes, but why go
Right.
there?
but then why go there?
Why go
Yes.
there?
Why
Yes.
that
That's
cafe? Like,
Yeah, that's
there
a
were
good
just
point,
so
yeah.
many questions for me. There are so many unanswered questions, and I know that that's part of flash fiction. You only have X amount of 3 pages if that's. But I think there are ways to drop subtle clues so that we know what's going on, even if you don't want to extend beyond this length.
Yeah.
Because even in this,
Although I agree with Sue, I don't usually read flash fiction for this very reason, in that I want so much more. But I do think there are ways to give us more, even in such a small space.
because he doesn't even react. I mean, he finds all this out, and instead of seeing any instance of reacting, he's going to learn classes about mathematics so he can still be their dad, which I thought was kind of sweet and sad.
Yes.
And then-
Right, so why do
Yes.
all that if you're planning, if
Right.
you've already planned this
Right.
attack?
There's no sign
There's a
of that
disjoint,
happening.
right, there's a
And then the wife-
disjointedness to the
right.
story.
And then the wife leaves, and not only does she leave to go to the moms, but the kids do. So it's one thing, you don't want to deal with your wife, but then your kids are going, it would feel like she's taking them from him, because essentially she's already done that.
Right.
And you don't see any hint of,
And so if the attack is a reaction to that, then he needs to go out and get guns. He doesn't already have the bomb and is ready to go. I don't know, there's just something.
you have to
that
see a
to it.
reaction to that
Unless he
too.
was
Right.
taking classes that he might learn how to make a bomb. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like make some
Right.
connection that way with the classes.
Well, he did have a science class and math in parts.
But
Was
that
I
was
mean, there's a
also a
whole
question.
chronology thing too.
Mhm.
I mean, when did he find this out? I mean,
Yes, you know.
there are at
Yes,
least
there's the
Exactly.
Christmas party and there's
Yeah.
this morning and
a
it's the
Christmas
same
party
paragraph.
1 year.
Mhm.
And
You
how
know,
So he's known for years, so
When
this
was
anger
that?
has been
Right.
festering.
Then
Was-
he,
Is Charlotte Jones
then
his
he takes
wife?
classes.
Yes.
You know how he
Yes.
says Charlotte Jones,
Shin-
Denise,
yes.
Shinya, whatever,
He
came to
never
the door?
really
Yes.
describes.
I didn't realize that was the wife till I read that paragraph 3 or 4 times,
Right.
and I said, oh, maybe that was the wife.
Yeah.
And it was just so weird that we didn't know her name was Charlotte. And,
Yes.
you know,
Actually, that part didn't, that was okay with me, that it was so, we don't get her name until there, because as soon as we hear she came to the door with Robert McNamara with divorce papers, we know it's the same Robert from page 1. Although the name Robert McNamara also made me laugh, because I
Unfortunately.
wondered if it was the real Robert McNamara,
Yeah.
But she
former
just looked
Secretary
like
of
a kid.
Defense under
Oh,
JFK and
gosh,
LBJ. And so just be careful with your naming conventions, because
Yes.
that just brought
Yes,
up
Google
a
your
whole,
names.
a whole
Yes.
bunch of
Wikipedia's there for a
crazy
reason,
ideas
you
for
know.
me.
But then,
Well, speaking of names, let's talk about J. Alfred Prufrock, because I didn't know that name. It's in the
That's
summary.
from T.S.
And it's a
Eliot.
T.S. Eliot poem of the
Yes.
love
It's a
song of
It's a great
J.
book,
Alfred
yeah.
Prufrock. But I don't know why we are to
I don't
compare
know.
him
So,
to Marty.
I didn't see
That-
the
I didn't
relationship.
get the
That's a
illusion.
great point, and that was actually the
Thank you.
first
Thank you.
comment,
You're so welcome.
comment that I made. I don't think that the character here is developed enough for us to understand why you're making the comparison to Prufrock, other than
Right.
that this character is outlandish, and if I remember Prufrock correctly, he was abrasive and outlandish, but that's not enough for me
We don't know
to
anything
justify.
about
We don't know
this
anything about
Right.
this
All we
character.
know
Right.
is things that happened. to
But
this
I do
character.
know a lot about Prufrock, right? If I remember correctly, thinking back to freshman English, right? Prufrock is considered the prototypical modern man. He is overeducated, he is eloquent, he is neurotic, he is emotionally stilted. And I kind of get little hints of that here, but again, I need more of, I made those associations, I
But
think,
no
a bit
bombs.
myself, because I know, right, but
This
no
was
bombs.
fleshed out as a short story, as a novel. We could get a better sense
yeah,
of Marty.
yeah. It just ends too quickly for us to get a sense that Marty represents any of those things. And as a matter of fact, he didn't seem overeducated to me at all. If he's taking
Right.
community college classes to keep up with his kids' homework, how old are his kids
Thank you.
that he needs to take these classes to be able to help them with their math? That was just
Yeah.
such that was incongruous for me. And then too, to say that he's average to a degree but carried a 4.0 GPA.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
that's not really average.
Right.
You know, with the exception of all of us on this panel, who I'm sure all had 4.0 GPAs, that's pretty atypical.
Yeah.
So there's just there's a lot of I'm losing my words, discrepancies here that I
Right.
think need to be addressed.
I agree.
Yeah, again, I go back to literature's people, and this is more a series of slides.
Oh,
Yeah.
You get
like that.
an idea of this, and then worse, it's dropped, this box of slides, and they're put in haphazard order. So I get no sequence of events that one thing leads to the next thing, leads to the next. But again, like everybody else at the panel, I don't know much about flash fiction. I think it's kind of a cop-out to literature. It's like, it's like sketches.
It's like tweeting.
Yeah, well, it's sketches of ideas and sort of like this, and take it or leave it. There's no real organization or justification for flash fiction, other than modern American readers have no attention span whatsoever.
Right. It's really easy to read on your iPhone.
Yeah.
But it's hard to write. It's hard to write a story in very few words. So
It's-
it is.
and
It's
that's
not
been
that
proven
it's
here.
easy. It's hard to do.
That's, yeah.
It's very hard to do.
If anything,
yeah.
it's more hard to do,
Yeah.
harder to do, I should say,
Exactly.
than writing a novel. But
Yeah.
there are still
You have to have that right
you
element
can't
of
take
story.
shortcuts. You
Yes,
still need all the
exactly.
elements of story, and I don't think that we get all of those here just yet.
Exactly.
But I love your point about not there's no organization to what's going on. Could we pretend for a second that the story opens with the line, Charlotte Jones, née Chenier, came to the door with Robert McNamara with divorce papers and a paternity suit?
Okay, then you
And
get a
build
story.
your story
Yeah.
from there.
That's a great first
Well,
line.
may I ask, would she have a paternity suit against her husband, or would she have a paternity test?
Yeah, I
It
didn't
wouldn't be a
understand
suit.
that, and luckily I've never
That's
been served with
a
divorce
box
papers.
of drop
Per
slides.
se.
Um,
That's
What the hell
great, because
went
the
on?
chronology is off here.
and
Very
also,
God.
she serves him with papers and he signs them on the spot. As
Yes.
far as I know, with
I know.
divorce, you go through divorce proceedings, there are
Right.
negotiations, there's
Right.
fighting back and forth. I'm
Right.
assuming, especially if,
All of
She
that
brought
true.
Robert with
He's-
her to
he's
do the
not
survey?
just signing and giving away his life, so I didn't quite get that. Maybe those negotiations have already taken place, but then we need to know that, because it sounds like this is all news to him. And if those negotiations have taken place, then this should come as no surprise.
And frankly, if he's that ignorant about the real world, I don't blame her for leaving.
Right.
I have no sympathy for him whatsoever.
I think this is really an outline. I mean, I honestly think
He's a
this is an
dude.
outline to our story.
Dope.
Do you think?
Marty, the character.
Yeah.
Well, you
The
got
one
no
who's not
emotion
drug me.
from him.
There's no emotion.
There was really no emotional
Well, until
reaction
they blew up the restaurant.
from him until the very end, and
It
was,
takes that
yes,
out on
it was
her.
shocking, but it
Makes
didn't,
no sense.
it didn't make sense,
It
right?
doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense because there was no emotional connection with
Yeah,
him.
what you said about discrepancies, that's what I get throughout this. It's not consistent. If you wanna have, I mean, he has what I would call a shock ending. Okay?
Yes, oh yes.
You don't see this coming. But I think you can have stories that have shock endings, that have surprise endings. But I think they still have to be consistent.
Yes, they have to
with
fit
what-
within.
Exactly, with what has gone before. Okay?
Absolutely.
And also the choice between having a shock ending and a suspenseful ending, I wonder at, because in flash fiction, you're only in it for a short time. It's not that hard to set up suspense, you know? I mean, like, you know, Hitchcock's formula was, okay, if you want a shock ending, you show a scene with, you know, a couple guys sitting at a table talking about baseball, and 5 minutes later a bomb goes off and kills them. You know? If you want to have suspense, you show somebody putting a bomb under the table, then the two guys come in and talk about baseball for 5 minutes, and the audience is going berserk because they know that the bomb is there. They know what's going to happen. You could do something with this very easily, you know? You could give, you know, little kinds of hints of what he was doing in the garage
And how he was feeling too.
Yeah.
Whenever anything happened.
and have it be in a place that makes sense. I mean, blowing up a cafe where he's already made sure that his friend won't be there. I was just sitting there like,
Yeah, I mean, it'd be more like
why
with his
there?
wife, right? Where's his wife going? Right.
yeah.
It doesn't even sound like he cares, but I thought a little bit the lack of emotion. I thought that was the attempt to be proof rock, right?
Hmm.
Because proof rock is emotionally
Detached.
still detached, exactly.
Yeah.
That's a good
but-
observation.
But this is all, I think, and again, I don't remember the poem that well, but I think this is to a degree that we don't see in T.S. Eliot. I think there's, even if he's
The first
detached,
stanza in
there is
Italian.
emotion, like, this guy is not human.
The first stanza is from Dante's Inferno. It's in Italian, and I only know that from having looked it, from Googling it, excuse me. But I wonder if he feels this is hell, or he's going to bring about hell. I don't
Wait,
know.
which,
Of the love song of
oh,
Jane.
right.
Proof rock.
I was like, I didn't see any Italian in here.
So if we sum this up a little bit, you're looking, you know, he's not showing any emotion. So for it to even end like that, it's really not believable, because we haven't seen anything to indicate that's where it's gonna happen, where that something like that's gonna happen. That it shows that location doesn't make any sense.
Right.
There's no connection to anybody there except
No, I
someone who
think-
we actually liked.
He'd want vengeance against Robert or someone.
I would think so. That's what I would
But that's what makes me think that this attack has nothing to do with the divorce.
Right.
Oh.
Like,
just
this
a
was,
randomness
this was
of
coming
weird.
anyways,
Wow,
right?
I can't
And-
see.
Well, because again, he had the bomb. He just got the divorce papers 20 minutes ago.
Well, that's a
So-
weird,
Mhm.
that's a weird kind of story. I mean,
Right.
maybe this guy was going to do a bombing, and then like this
Anyways, and-
divorce thing just
Right, it
came
just
up.
happened to happen on,
It's like-
happened to
And
fall on
then
the
all
same
this
day, and
That's
that's,
an
and that's
interesting
fine,
story.
and I think that
I
could
hope
work, but
not.
again, we need
Yeah,
clue.
yeah, right.
I need a
Yeah,
clue, I need
yes.
some sort of
Yeah, you have
indication
things
as to
kind
his
of
motivation.
crossing.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and the divorce is just,
Ah.
you know,
Boy,
how.
that would be, that's an.
Yeah.
And so I do think there's incredible potential here,
Yeah,
but-
yeah.
Yes,
but
sure.
it needs to be, it needs to be built upon. It seemed to me that the divorce was incidental, but then but if that's the case, to spend 3 pages building up the divorce and then just end with this one paragraph,
Yeah,
Right.
it doesn't jive.
Yeah.
You need to work up, right, if the two
Yeah.
stories are gonna come together, I need a little bit of that second story, not just the ending. And I think there are ways to do it. I think the opening about the wife cheating on him and knowing always the children weren't his and taking these classes, I've made some suggestions throughout on how to condense that. And so if you're insistent on staying within this 3-page limit, you can create a lot of space for yourself to give us those few clues. And I don't think it would take much, but we do need to understand that second story, if indeed it is a second story. And I think if it's not a second story, then the problem is a little bit bigger than what I'm envisioning.
Right. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't think of that perspective, but it's actually a good idea for a story. Anyone else?
What do you have against the coffee shop?
Maybe we should cut it out and you should go write it. That's pretty cool. All right, so
I'm done.
we're good? All right, well, Francis, thank you for submitting. I hope our comments helped you today. You can send emails after watching the show to ask us any questions that you have. So, Amaryah, thank you again for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been great.
Oh, good. Okay, that's it. So thank you everyone else for watching this episode of Writers Infusion. We will see you next time. Keep writing.
I love that tagline.
Keep writing.